I originally live in Bolton. I'm not from London. I hate London. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Well, let me just rephrase that. I hate getting into London or going to places in London. But the London itself is nice. Don't get me wrong. My town is very boring and people are just people. But here in London, people are very lively. So I just hate getting to London. But when I am there, I complain that throughout the journey. But when I'm here, I'm happy though. But let's go back to me talking to you guys. My name is Ngamba, and I went to the 2024 Paris Olympic with 30 other refugee athletes from all around the world, from Canada, Switzerland, France, and Afghanistan. Loads of them came over. We all gathered up before we entered the village and started our competition. All of them were from different sports for the Olympic. I'm originally from Bolton. I came in the UK when I was 11 years old with my brother Kenneth, and my sibling had already lived here with my dad. My dad came in the UK when he was very young and he stayed in the UK, but I lived originally in Cameroon in a city called Douala. I don't know, you guys might not know, but my mom lived in France. She stayed in France. She stayed in France with some of my siblings. I came in the UK to join my dad and my sibling. English was my first language. I had to learn English, adapt into English. When I came in the UK, the first thing I thought, what the hell is this weather, man? This weather. You know what I mean? If you ask any immigrant or any refugee that come in the UK, the first thing they will talk about is the weather. And I'm sure English people will talk about the weather too. You know what I mean? The government should do something about it, or God should do something about it, because we don't like it, we hate it. Every day we wake up and complain. If it's sunny, everyone feels good. When it's raining, everyone feels shit. But I said, this weather is horrible. People were speaking to me in English. I thought they were talking Chinese. And I thought, how am I going to learn this language? It doesn't make sense at all to me. When I was back in Cameroon, I was very sportive. I did not grow into a family of sport, but I was, from a child, I always liked to play with boys more than girls. I always used to ride my bike and play with like little motorbike, you know, just hang out with the boys. When I came in the UK, it was very hard for me, you know, the language and the lifestyle, the education system, and just me being a teenager and now having like a mother figure to kind of educate me on that teenager year. And when you get to the hormones start hitting and you start wondering who you are, trying to find yourself and trying to educate you about the hygiene of being a girl and etc. etc. So I had to become my own parents, even though I had my sibling and my dad by my side. And I think it was when I hit the age of 15 that I learned that I didn't have papers. In my head, I was going to school. Here in the UK, you don't need paper to go to school. Obviously, when you go to college, that's when it's kind of like they start asking for ID and etc. And I never knew about that. And I wanted to go to college after school, and I needed paper. That's when you start looking at trying to get into university, and I didn't have no paper. And I remember the first time when I asked my dad for my passport, and he told me that I didn't have no passport, and I was an immigrant in the UK. And I had to go and sign in every day in Manchester in a immigration place to just let them know that I'm still in the UK, that I've not flew the UK and gone somewhere else. It was very hard, you know, being a sporty girl and be bubbly back in Cameroon, having to come in the UK and losing my confidence and feeling lost and trying to see what I fit in. I got bullied in school for my accent and not being able to speak English properly. And because I came from the UK, I was a bit older than some of the people in my year, in year 8. So I was meant to be in year 9, but they couldn't put me in year 9 because, again, English was my first language. So they had to put me in a year below. So I was like the oldest one, you know, a big girl in my year. So I got bullied for being just big in language and etc. So that itself just ate me up mentally and physically. Again, finding myself with a language barrier. One day when I went into the detention, when I went into the immigration center to sign, I got arrested. Me and my brother got arrested because they didn't tell us what we got arrested for. They just read us our rights. That was when I was about 16 years old. And they brought me into a detention camp, in a women's detention camp in London. And then they brought my brother into a men's detention camp. They didn't really tell me what I was arrested for. I just remember that time for me was the most hardest moment of my life that I will always remember. I think anything in my life will never get to that level of scaredness or helpless or wondering what is going to happen to you. So I left Cameroon when I was 11. I left Cameroon when I was 11 years old. I've spent about 5 years or 5 years and a half or 6 years in the UK. I left and I didn't have no family back in Cameroon, and I was told that I was going to be sent back to Cameroon. And even before the age when I knew, from 12 years old, I knew that I didn't have paper. Going about my day-to-day, knowing that I can be arrested any moment at any time, in the street, when I'm in school, when I'm in college, even in my house, they can come at any time because, again, I'm an asylum, I'm an immigrant in the UK. They can do whatever they want with me until I have the legal paper to be able to be let alone. But brought me into detention camp. I remember just crying, feeling helpless, and I started thinking about the worst thing that can happen, being sent back to Cameroon. Didn't have no money, didn't have no family, didn't know no one back there, left there when I was young, and me thinking that, yeah, this is the end. I don't have any help, nothing. But one day later, they told me that I was going to be released, and I got released because I had my dad, like I said, and my sibling here in the UK that were British citizenship, From 15 years old, back in school again, I lost my confidence. I was alone, and I would go back home and I would tell my sibling that I'm getting bullied at school. They would tell me to stand for myself. I go back again and I'm walking to school and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stand for myself. Get to school, shut my mouth, don't say nothing. And I just take it. I was very sportive, and I heard about a youth club in Bolton called Bolton Lads and Girls Club. The youth club is basically keeping loads of young kids out of the street. There's different type of activity, there's PlayStation, there's different sport that you can do. There's staff members in there that you can talk to. They can help you do a CV if you're in college, and they can just help. You can just talk to them, tell them things that you don't really want to tell any of your family member, or even if you don't have any family, you can just have someone there to talk to. And also there's food and there's snack. There's different kind of game just to keep loads of kids out of the street. And that's when I learned about a sport called boxing. Back in Cameroon, never heard about boxing. It's until I came in the UK, even when I was in the UK, never heard about a sport called boxing. That's when I joined the youth club, that's when I heard about a sport called boxing. I remember joining the boxing session for the entering the boxing session for the very first time. It was just full of boys, no girls inside, loads of people punching the bag, sparring, skipping. And I thought, wow, this is an amazing sport, and I want to try it, and I want to see how I do at it. So I asked the time and the date that it was on. Came back a couple of days later, and I joined the session, me thinking I was going to, spar. I don't know if you guys know what sparring is, but it's like fighting, but practice. And I was going to punch the bag, but my coach gave me a skipping rope, and he told me to do 10 press-up, 10 sit-up, 10 squat. That's what I did for 1 hour and a half. And the next day I came again, gave me a skipping rope, and I did that. 10 press-up, 10 sit-up, 10 squat, 3 minutes of skipping for 2 years and a half. And when I started boxing, I was 120 kg. I dropped all the way to 91 kg. And that was just from skipping and doing exercise. And I think looking back at it, he was just trying to challenge me and trying to see if I was going to stay. Because a lot of kids try a sport and then they get bored out of it because of the discipline of it, and they just leave. So he thought I was going to leave. But the thing about me, when you give me something, and if I found it hard, I would give my all and try my best to get better at it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is boxing saved my life. If it wasn't for boxing, I would not be where I am right now. I did boxing for many years. I entered loads of championship in the UK. I won loads of championship at 3 different weights. That's when you win championship here in the UK, you join the GB boxing program. I mean, if you do any elite sport, you can join you can start with the England team, and then you go to the elite level, which is represent the Great Britain in abroad. So, because I didn't have no papers, I was still an immigrant, didn't have my refugee status. I joined GB Boxing, did my assessment with them a couple of months later. I passed all my assessment, and I was going to join the team. And they asked me, "What's your papers?" I'm like, "Papers? Don't know what do you mean by that." They're like, "You need your passport. To be able to join the GB Boxing team, you need to be a British citizen." And I was like, that was the most shocking moment of my life. And I thought, well, I don't have no papers. I'm an immigrant. I'm still pending. My case is still pending. I've applied about 10 times, spent about 1,000. My mom sending me money back in France. My auntie and uncle, we all try to just pay for the solicitor, pay for my case, pay home office. And I think that was when I learned that to home office, you're just a number. You're not, they don't see you as a human. They just see a pack of documents, and they just look to that document. And if your evidence are not reliable, they throw it on the side. And if it's reliable, then they'll be, yeah. But then still, you have to go into court and argue with the home office just trying to kick you out of the country, and you have to tell them why they should not kick you out of the country. And we're not able to join GB boxing. I went back into competing. I was doing about 3 jobs. I was still going to college. I was still going to signing every day. Obviously, I got arrested in detention camp, got let go, got back into my life again, my usual life, college, working, and try to write another case with my solicitor so that I can give it to Home Office, until one day. So I knew about my sexuality, being a lesbian, when I was back in Cameroon, but I didn't know what being a lesbian was or what coming out felt like it. But I knew that I fancied the girl because I had a friend back in Cameroon, my best friend, and she was a girl, and I liked her, but she liked my brother. So she would always tell me to tell my brother that she would tell me to make her look to my brother, and I was jealous, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But coming here in the UK, there's different amazing things that you can learn about yourself, and you can progress. And the equality in the UK, back in Africa, is so amazing, and people you can kind of become yourself and feel free and just be happy and just be yourself, in this world, because everyone is equal. But back in Africa, there's so many, barriers that you just can't overcome. But because I was still living in my stepmom's house, I'd never used my sexuality as a way out to get my papers. So back in Cameroon, it's illegal to be gay. You can get sent to prison, you can get harmed. And during the Olympic and after the Olympic, when my story got out, I got loads of media and people back in Cameroon insulting me and telling me, you're lying. Back in Cameroon, it's not like that and like that. But if you go on Google and if you go on the government website, it's written there that it's illegal to be gay in Cameroon. But when I used that as my evidence to be able to get my paper, I remember on the day of the call, I went to call with my solicitor, and Home Office was there to try to make sure that my evidence were not reliable for me to stay in the UK. Luckily, I ended up winning, and I was able to get my refugee status, and I put into protection mode. And when I got my refugee status, I went back again to GB boxing, hoping I'll be able to join the GB boxing team, and they said no, still. But the amazing thing was there was a Refugee Olympic Federation that helped the refugees that were involved into elite sport and that did any kind of sport to help them to compete abroad and join a program where they can be a full-time athlete and not have to work or not have to worry and just focus on that on their sport mainly. So that was through the Refugee Federation. I was able to join the scholarship, be a scholarship holder, to be part of the scholarship holder in the Refugee Federation. And then, so I was a full-time athlete. I was able to join with the GB boxing team. I was able to train with the GB boxing team, and through training with them, I was able to go abroad and compete and go to training camp to different countries internationally. And that's when the time came where you had to qualify to go to the Olympic. And I didn't have to qualify because I'm a refugee, but as a refugee, there's loads of refugees from different European countries that get selected to go to Olympic. But my goal for me has always been, ever since I started boxing, has always been to go to Olympic. Right? I've always been the type of person where I don't like to be given things, I don't like to ask for things, I like to work my own ass off and get what I want. And I think many refugees have the same mindset. Many humans all around the world have the same mindset. You want to work, you don't like asking, because asking means you're desperate or you cannot help your own self. And a lot of people have their views about refugees when people say refugees are lazy, they just come and take things, they don't work hard, which that's a full lie. So I went to Milan and I qualified for the Olympic. I was the first ever refugee to qualify for the Olympic after Rio. That was the first cycle that the refugee took part into. And then the second cycle was in Tokyo and the third cycle was in Paris. I qualified for the Olympic and kind of shocked the world because people were kind of like, who is this girl? People has never heard of a refugee Olympic team before. When I was going to competition abroad and then people would ask me, what team are you representing? And I'd be like, the refugee team. And they'd be like, there's a refugee team? I never heard about it before. So for me to have qualified for the Olympic, it was kind of a shock. Going into the Olympic, I knew kind of like, well, I was not the only one. There was all the 30 athletes. I knew kind of like there was going to be loads of pressure, not only on me, but all the refugees, because I watched some of the videos of the refugees that participated in the Tokyo Olympic, and a lot of people opinion were about how a lot of refugees was just participating in the Olympic. They were given a spot to be at the Olympic. They didn't work hard. They were not hungry. They were not motivated. And there was one sprinter that came, I think, third. And he was eliminated straight away on his first match of racing. And straight away, when he's just full of emotion, he's devastated that he lost. A journalist come right in front of him and ask him, so what do you think? You just got eliminated out of your race. You're out of the Olympic. What do you think? Do you think refugees just take part into competition, or have you not worked hard for it? And the guy was so angry and he was crying. He was basically saying that a lot of people have negative opinion about refugees, and they just come here to take things. They don't work hard. They're not hungry. They're not determined. And he was talking about how he's been training for 3 years for this, and he was out. And that really annoyed me, and it really made me very angry. And I was sad because I thought people think, because I qualified for the Olympic, and all these refugees, all the refugees that are taking part in the Olympic were not. They were not, they were just selected. They were just selected. They didn't work hard for it. And my mindset when I won at the Olympic was, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prove people all around the world that a refugee can win a medal at the Olympic. A refugee can win it, not in a cheap way, but in a hunger way, because all our life as refugees, we had to fight for so many things, and we're always quiet, We can't show how confident we are in ourselves. We can't show how determined we are. We always have to just take, and never express the way we feel. And that's why, for me, I always felt like, as a refugee, you should be proud of who you are. You should be confident in yourself. You should let no one tell you how you should behave and tell you what you should believe and what you should not believe. We live in a world where people are always going to have opinion, whether you like it or not. But it's to do with how you go about with your lifestyle and how you go and get what's yours. My goal from the very beginning when I started boxing was to win a medal at the Olympic. And that's why I made sure I went out there and I won a medal at the Olympic. When I got my refugee status, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was embarrassed to call myself a refugee. I was very embarrassed to call myself a refugee. When my friend would go on holiday and they would tell me, oh, you're not going on holiday, I'd be like, first of all, I can't even explain to them about being a refugee. I can't even explain that as a refugee, I can't go to a certain country, or I have to apply for a visa, or yeah, I have my refugee status and I can work and I can go to university, but I'm not fully a British citizen to be allowed to do everything. Even when you're a refugee, people think that, yeah, your life is sorted. No, it's not fully sorted. There's still things that I can't do that a full British citizen can do. And it's just sad. It's just sad. It's very, very sad. And I just hope that for me, after I won my medal, I was asked, what is one thing that you wish, like you having won a medal at the Olympic, would change people's view on the refugees? I said, for me, I just hope that now that I won a medal at the Olympic, and it was a refugee that won a medal at the Olympic and competed with the best of the best, and I beat the best of the best, they can just look at me and see that I'm just human and I was just competing for a team, but obviously I was competing for the refugee team. The Refugee Federation gave me an opportunity. They gave me a scholarship to be a full-time athlete. They gave me the opportunity to go to Olympic, and I was able to take that opportunity and make something glorious out of it and win a medal, not only for myself, but also for the refugee team and also for Great Britain, because I've had a lot of support from the Great Britain boxing team. They always supported me from the very beginning. They've seen my skills, they believed in me, and they never treated me as Cindy as a refugee. They always treated me as Cindy as a boxer and part of the team. Obviously, I couldn't join the Great Britain team, but they always supported me. They were on my corner at the Olympic. They were watching me when the medal was put on my neck, and a lot of people were supporting me back in Paris. A lot of people all around the world were supporting me. Not only me, but also all the refugees all around the world. But now that the Olympic is over, I just wish that a lot of people. I just wish that a lot of people can support the Refugee Federation as much as possible financially, because it's not easy. There's only a certain amount of refugees that can participate in the Olympic, and a certain amount of refugees that can get hold of the scholarship to achieve that dream in the sport that they have. There's so many talented refugee athletes. I met all of them before we went into the village before the Olympics started, and most of them flew their country because of safety, because they were going to get killed. Most of them had left their family at home, and some of them are living all alone. They have no help, no support. When I was still an immigrant, I didn't have like a place where I can go and get help and explain. I can get help so that they can explain to me what it means to be an immigrant, what it means to be a asylum seeker, and things the right that I have and right that I don't have. I didn't have the mental support on how to deal with all of it from a young age. And, I had my sibling, but again, it's different because my sibling was already British citizen. I was the only one that was kind of an immigrant. And so I had to battle that all by myself. And I'm sure there's many other refugees or an immigrant and asylum seeker all around the world that are still struggling. But it's amazing to see that there's a bit more support compared to me when I was young in 2012, 2013. So I just hope that a lot of people can change their view about refugees, and a lot of support can be put onto refugee, immigrant and asylum seeker. And also, I heard you when they were talking about the media side of what people's view about refugees and immigrant and asylum seekers, and what the media put out there for people to see. And one thing I can say is a lot of people feed into the media. They never try to educate themselves about what it means to be a refugee, or what it means to be an immigrant, or what it means to be an asylum seeker. That's one thing I have always said to people. Go out there and educate yourself. Speak to some refugees, speak to some asylum. Don't just come to conclusion on what you see on TV, what you see on the news, etc., and think, oh yeah, that's exactly what it means, a refugee. And then when you go out there and be like, yeah, I know this, refugees just come and take. And he said an amazing thing to me that stood out was, most of the people that do the hardest work here in the UK, in the European country, are refugees and immigrants. We are all immigrants, no matter whether you like it or not. If you go and do your DNA, you have a bit of another country inside you. So I think the world should stop saying, all around the world, we should stop talking about, oh, I'm not an immigrant, I'm this country. No, we are all, because at the end of the day, we are all immigrants. And we came from our past parents, the past people in the past that were immigrant. And then the next generation are going to immigrant. And I don't understand why people are so embarrassed to call themselves, immigrant or asylum seeker, because at the end of the day, we're all human, and we're all just trying to make it in this crazy world of ours. But that's me. I'm done now. Don't know if I bored you guys. But if you have any questions, just shoot. And I'm trying to keep it short as possible, guys.